Do you know the 15 survival foods that many people preparing for emergencies rarely share publicly online? Most of those foods are not rare or expensive. Many of them are even still sitting on supermarket shelves every day. But they share one very important trait: long shelf life, high energy, and the ability to create many different meals when food supplies become limited. Do not miss item number 7. It is not a survival food that most people usually think about. In fact, many people only see it as a snack. But those who prepare for crises know that it can last a very long time and become an extremely useful food source. There is a good chance it is already sitting somewhere in your kitchen, and you have never thought about it that way. 1. Duck fat. Most survival food lists on the internet focus on familiar items such as rice, beans, pasta, or canned foods. But many people with experience preparing for crises know something very different. There is an important group of foods that many lists forget: fats. And one of the fat sources that is highly valued in the community. It may sound simple, but in an emergency, fat can become one of the most valuable energy sources you have. The reason is clear. Fat contains more calories than most other foods. Just one small spoon of duck fat can provide an amount of energy comparable to an entire bowl of rice. When food supplies become limited and the body needs more energy to deal with stress or harsh weather, this dense calorie source becomes extremely important. But the value of duck fat is not only in energy, it is also an extremely versatile cooking ingredient. With just a little duck fat, you can fry potatoes, sauté vegetables, cook soup, or mix it into hot rice to create a simple but flavorful meal. In situations where food can become repetitive, a little fat can completely change the taste of a dish. In fact, humans used animal fat in cooking and food preservation long before refrigerators existed. In France, duck fat is used in a famous traditional dish called confit de canard, where duck meat is slowly cooked in fat and can be preserved for a long time. This shows that fat was once an important part of food preservation strategies throughout history. One interesting detail is that in many modern survival stockpiles, fat is often the most missing item. People store large amounts of rice, beans, and grains, but forget that the body needs fat to maintain long-term energy. That is why in a kitchen prepared for a crisis, a jar of duck fat can sometimes become one of the most valuable energy sources in the house. 2. Nutritional yeast energy helps you survive the first days of a crisis. But if the situation lasts longer, the human body begins to need something else: vitamins and micronutrients. At first glance, nutritional yeast does not look like anything special. Just small flakes of pale yellow powder. Light, dry, and very simple. But inside it contains a surprising amount of nutrition. Nutritional yeast is well known for being rich in B vitamins, a group of vitamins that help the body convert energy and support the nervous system. In addition, it also provides a fairly good amount of plant protein. But what makes nutritional yeast special in long-term food storage is not only nutrition, it is flavor. Many people describe its taste as similar to a mild cheese: rich, savory, and slightly salty. Just sprinkle a little on food, and a simple meal can become much more enjoyable. You can sprinkle nutritional yeast on hot rice, noodles, soup, vegetables, or even popcorn. In many survival food storage systems, meals are often quite simple: rice, beans, grains, or potatoes. After some time, these foods can become bland and repetitive. A little nutritional yeast can make meals more flavorful and add essential micronutrients. One viewer once shared a very interesting experience under a video about food storage. During that major storm, we lost power for nearly a week. Our food was mostly just rice and beans, but I had a jar of nutritional yeast in the kitchen. I sprinkled it on everything. It may sound small, but it made meals much easier to eat, especially for the kids. Sometimes in difficult situations, small details like that can make a big difference. That is why many people preparing for crises see nutritional yeast as a nutritional seasoning. Compact, easy to store, but extremely useful in long-term food storage. Now I am curious about something. Have you ever tried nutritional yeast? Or is this the first time you have heard about it? Share in the comments. And in the next section, we will talk about a dry food that has sustained humans for thousands of years. Inexpensive, durable, and almost always present in serious survival food storage systems. 3. Bouillon cubes. In many survival food storage systems, there is one very small item that can completely change a meal. Bouillon cubes. Just drop one cube into hot water, and you almost instantly have a flavorful bowl of soup. This is especially useful when most long-term stored foods are quite simple, such as rice, beans, or potatoes. After many days of repeated meals, these foods can become bland and difficult to eat. One small bouillon cube can change that. It can turn a simple pot of rice or beans into something much more aromatic and enjoyable. That is why many survival planners see bouillon as a kind of flavor insurance for their food storage. Small, inexpensive, and able to improve an entire pot of food. In addition to flavor, bouillon often contains salt and some minerals. On days when the body feels tired, a bowl of hot water mixed with bouillon is sometimes used like a light soup that helps the body feel more comfortable and stimulates appetite. A friend of mine once shared a story. During a winter storm that left his area without power for nearly 3 days, his family mainly ate rice and beans from their food storage. But each time he dropped a bouillon cube into a pot of hot water, the smell of soup filled the kitchen. He said, "It's a small thing, but at that moment it changed the whole meal. The kids suddenly ate much better." Bouillon is also very easy to store. Because it is dehydrated, it can last for years if kept in a dry place. However, it absorbs moisture quite quickly, so many people store it in airtight containers or vacuum-sealed bags to keep it dry. Sometimes in long-term food storage, it is these small items that make the biggest difference. Do you currently have bouillon cubes in your kitchen? 4. Dried spices. After a few days of eating only rice and beans, a little garlic powder or black pepper can make a meal feel completely different. In many survival food storage systems, there is a small group of foods that carry far more value than their appearance suggests. Dried spices. Familiar items like black pepper, garlic powder, paprika, turmeric, or cumin usually take up only a tiny corner of the kitchen, yet they can significantly affect how people experience their meals. Throughout history, spices were once extremely valuable. Long before refrigeration and modern transportation, they were used not only to enhance flavor, but also to help improve the quality of stored foods. In many historical periods, spices were even considered important trade commodities. Today, the real value of spices in long-term food storage lies in their efficiency and flexibility. With just a very small amount, they can completely transform the smell and taste of a dish. A pinch of black pepper adds warmth. Garlic powder brings a familiar aroma. Turmeric and cumin can create deeper flavors in stews and soups. Dried spices also have another major advantage: small size but long usability. A single jar of spice can season dozens of meals while taking up almost no storage space. That makes them one of the simplest ways to increase meal variety without needing to store large amounts of additional food. However, there is one detail many people overlook. Spices rarely spoil quickly, but their aroma and strength gradually fade over time, especially when exposed to air and light. That is why many people store spices in airtight containers, dark glass jars, or vacuum-sealed bags to preserve their flavor for longer. If you could only keep 3 spices in your kitchen, which ones would you choose? 5. Instant mashed potatoes. There is another food in many survival food storage systems that people often underestimate, yet it can be extremely useful. Instant mashed potatoes. The biggest advantage of this food is speed and simplicity. In many emergency situations, cooking can become much more difficult than usual. Cooking fuel may be limited. Electricity may be unavailable. Kitchen equipment might not work the way it normally does. In those conditions, foods that require long cooking times become far less practical. Instant mashed potatoes solve that problem surprisingly well. All you need is hot water, and within a few minutes, you can have a bowl of soft, warm, easy-to-eat food. No large pot, no long cooking time, no complicated preparation. Another reason many people include instant mashed potatoes in their long-term food storage is their versatility. They can be eaten on their own, but they can also be mixed with other foods, such as dried vegetables, canned meat, beans, or bouillon, to create a much more filling meal. Even a small portion can help turn simple ingredients into something that feels more like a complete dish. For families with children or elderly members, this kind of food can also be easier to eat than many other stored foods, especially during stressful situations when appetite is low. Sometimes, the most useful survival foods are not the ones that look impressive, but the ones that are simple, quick, and reliable when conditions are not ideal. Besides convenience, potatoes also provide starch and quick energy, helping the body feel fuller and more stable after eating. During stressful situations or times when physical activity increases, simple but energy-rich foods like this can become surprisingly valuable. Another interesting aspect of instant mashed potatoes is their flexibility in the kitchen. They are not only used to make mashed potatoes. A small amount of potato flakes can quickly thicken soups or stews. When cooking fried foods, they can also work as a light coating to create a crispy texture. Some people even mix potato flakes into dough to make simple breads or quick-baked dishes. One small ingredient, but it opens the door to many different uses in cooking. Instant mashed potatoes are also lightweight and easy to store. When kept in sealed, dry packaging, they can last for a long time without requiring special storage conditions. That is why in many emergency food storage systems, dried mashed potatoes are often considered a fast energy source that is easy to cook and highly versatile. Have you ever kept instant mashed potatoes in your home? 6. Canned sardines. A small food, but one that appears very often. When talking about animal protein that can be stored for a long time, sardines are one of the most practical choices. They are small, inexpensive, and already cooked during the canning process. That means you can simply open the lid and eat immediately. In situations like extended power outages, major storms, or when cooking becomes difficult, the ability to eat food that requires no cooking is a major advantage. A simple can of sardines can quickly become a meal while the body still receives the necessary nutrients. The value of canned sardines is not only in their convenience. A small can usually provides a significant amount of protein, along with omega-3, a type of fat often mentioned for its benefits to heart health. In addition, because sardines are often eaten with their soft bones, they also provide natural calcium, something many other canned foods do not have. An interesting detail that many long-term food preppers often mention is the efficiency of sardines. With their small size but high nutritional value, Sardines are considered one of the most economical and compact canned protein sources to store. Some people even use the oil in the sardine can to mix with hot rice, noodles, or bread, creating a simple but more flavorful meal. Small details like that are exactly what makes sardines a very flexible food in many different situations. That is why in many food storage supplies, sardines may not be the most noticeable item, but they are one of the most reliable sources of protein. If you had to choose between sardines and canned tuna, which one would you choose? 7. Popcorn kernels among dry foods that can be stored for a long time. There is one grain that is very simple but well known for its durability. Many people think of popcorn as a familiar snack, but from the perspective of long-term food preppers, popcorn kernels have a very notable advantage. If kept dry and sealed, they can last for a very long time. Dried corn has been used by humans for thousands of years. When stored away from moisture, the kernels still maintain their structure and their ability to pop. That is why popcorn kernels are often considered a compact but reliable grain in many food storage supplies. Besides making popcorn, corn kernels can also be ground into cornmeal or cooked into a simple porridge. This makes them a fairly flexible ingredient, even though many people initially only think of them as a snack. Another interesting point is that the preparation is very simple. With just a pot with a lid and a heat source that is hot enough, the small corn kernels can pop into popcorn within a few minutes. No complicated tools or preparation are required. In many survival food supplies, popcorn is also considered a food that helps make meals less monotonous. Sometimes a familiar food can create a more comforting feeling during difficult situations. Do you prefer salty popcorn or sweet popcorn? 8. Powdered eggs in many emergency situations. There is a very practical problem that many people only realize when it happens. Fresh food is often the first thing to disappear. Eggs are a clear example. In everyday life, eggs appear in countless familiar meals. But if the power goes out or the refrigerator stops working, fresh eggs can only last for a very short time. That is why many long-term food preppers often store a lesser-known ingredient: powdered eggs. Eggs can be dried into powder, and when kept in a sealed, dry environment, they can be stored for many years. What is special is that when you need to use them, you only need to add water to recreate a mixture similar to fresh eggs. Because of that, powdered eggs become a very flexible ingredient in survival food storage. Powdered eggs can be used to make simple scrambled eggs, mixed into soup, or used in basic baked foods. In many cooking recipes, eggs play an important role in binding and creating structure for the dish. Because of that, having powdered eggs in food storage opens up more cooking possibilities than many other dry foods. One small tip that many long-term food preppers often remember is that a portion of egg powder mixed with water can replace one egg in many recipes. This makes it simple to use even when you only need a small amount. During times when fresh food becomes difficult to find, the ability to recreate familiar kitchen ingredients can make meals easier and more varied. Have you ever tried cooking with powdered eggs? 9. Breakfast cereal in short-term emergency situations. Sometimes the most important thing is not being able to cook a complicated meal, but simply having something that can be eaten immediately. That is why many people who prepare food often keep some breakfast cereal at home. The biggest advantage of dry cereal is absolute convenience. You do not need to cook, you do not need much preparation, and you hardly need any tools. During times such as major storms, multi-day power outages, or when everything becomes chaotic, having a food that can be eaten right away can sometimes be very important. A bowl of breakfast cereal can provide carbohydrates and quick energy, helping the body stay active while you are dealing with other problems. Many cereals are also fortified with vitamins and minerals, so they are not only convenient, but also provide some nutritional value. Dry cereal is also fairly light and easy to store. When kept in a sealed container and a dry environment, it can be stored for quite a long time. This makes it a reasonable option for short-term emergencies when you need a quick meal without cooking. Sometimes during stressful days, a simple and familiar meal can make things feel a little easier. Do you usually eat cereal with milk or eat it dry? 10. Salt in many survival food lists. There is a small ingredient that carries very great value: salt. Today, salt is present in almost every kitchen, but in history, it was once one of the most valuable commodities. Before refrigerators and modern preservation technology, people depended on salt to keep food from spoiling. Salt can be used to cure and preserve meat, helping extend the usable life of food. It also plays an important role in many traditional fermentation methods, such as making pickles or other fermented foods. Besides preserving food, salt is also necessary for the body. It helps maintain electrolyte balance, which is especially important when the body is very active or loses water in hot conditions. Another advantage of salt is its almost unlimited shelf life if it is kept dry. It does not spoil the way many other foods can spoil. That is why in many emergency food storage supplies, salt is not only considered a seasoning, but also an important ingredient for preserving and maintaining food for a longer time. Do you always keep salt in your food storage supply? 11. Dried lentils in many survival food supplies. Lentils almost always appear. The reason is not because they are rare or special, but because they are one of the most efficient and practical plant protein sources. The first point that makes lentils a popular choice is their relatively quick cooking time. Most types of dried beans need to be soaked first and cooked for quite a long time, but lentils can usually be cooked directly after being rinsed. In situations where cooking fuel may be limited, saving cooking time and energy becomes a major advantage. Besides that, lentils provide protein, fiber, and many minerals, helping create simple meals that are still nutritious. When combined with grains such as rice or wheat, lentils can form a complete protein, providing all the essential amino acids the body needs. Another reason lentils appear in many food storage supplies is their very low cost. With a cheap price but high nutritional value, they can become the foundation for many different meals. With just a pot of lentils cooked with rice or dried vegetables, you already have a simple but filling and stable meal. In addition, dried lentils also have a long shelf life if they are kept dry and sealed. This makes them one of the most reliable foods for long-term storage plans. The combination of nutrition, low cost, and fast cooking ability is exactly what has made lentils one of the familiar ingredients in many survival food lists. Do you prefer red lentils or green lentils? 12. Dried split peas. Another food that often appears in long-term food storage supplies is split peas. Dried split peas are well known for their ability to create thick and energy-rich soups. When cooked, split peas soften and turn into a thick soup that is easy to eat and quite filling. This type of bean provides protein, fiber, and carbohydrates, helping make meals more complete even when there are only a few basic ingredients available. In many families, a large pot of pea soup can be enough for several people to share, especially when combined with rice, potatoes, or a small amount of dried vegetables. Another advantage of dried split peas is their long storage ability. When kept in a dry and sealed environment, they can last for many years while still maintaining their basic nutritional value. In addition, pea soup is also very easy to cook. With just water, a little salt, and enough cooking time, you can create a hot, thick, and fairly filling meal. This is what makes split peas a simple but reliable ingredient in many survival food supplies. In situations where food becomes limited, a large pot of soup can sometimes help an entire family have a warm and more comforting meal. Have you ever cooked split pea soup? 13. Ghee is essentially butter that has been heated to remove the water and milk proteins. When these two perishable components are separated, the remaining fat becomes much more stable. Because of that, ghee can be stored longer than regular butter and does not depend too much on refrigeration. In long-term food storage plans, this creates a very practical advantage. Many people often think of rice, beans, or grains when preparing food supplies, but forget one important element: fat. Meanwhile, fat is the most energy-dense source in the diet. Even a small amount can provide a large number of calories, which is especially important when food supplies are limited. That is why ghee is often considered a simple way to increase the energy of a meal. Just a small spoon added to rice, porridge, or soup can make the dish richer and provide more energy for the body. One point that makes ghee popular for many people is its flexibility in the kitchen. It can be used for cooking, frying food, or simply added to grain dishes. When meals become simple during difficult periods, a little fat can sometimes create a big difference in flavor and the feeling of fullness. That is why in many food storage supplies, ghee is not a large or expensive item, but it plays the role of a concentrated energy source that helps simple meals become more complete and more satisfying. 14. Whole wheat. When talking about foods with long-term storage ability, wheat is often among the most reliable choices. When kept dry and sealed, whole wheat can last for a very long time while still maintaining its usefulness. What makes wheat special is not only its storage life, it is also an extremely flexible ingredient. From the same grain, many different types of food can be created. Wheat can be ground into flour to make bread, cooked soft like rice, or used in many traditional dishes across different cultures. This flexibility is what makes wheat an important foundation in many food storage supplies. A large bag of wheat is not just a simple grain, but actually a source ingredient for many different meals over time. In addition, wheat provides a steady amount of carbohydrates, helping the body maintain energy for daily activities. Throughout history, many societies have depended on grains such as wheat to feed large populations. These small grains can be stored, transported, and used in many different situations. That is why when looking at long-term food storage, wheat is often considered a sustainable food foundation. Not because it is extremely special, but because from a very simple ingredient, it can create countless meals over time. 15. Vinegar. Vinegar is one of the simplest ingredients in the kitchen, but it is extremely useful when it comes to long-term storage. The special characteristic of vinegar is its ability to last for a very long time. Because of its natural acidic environment, vinegar almost never spoils in the way many other foods do. In many households, vinegar is considered a familiar seasoning. But when food supplies become limited, it can help simple meals become easier to eat. Just a little vinegar added to vegetables, soup, or sauces can noticeably change the flavor of a dish. Besides cooking, vinegar is also used in a very traditional method of food preservation: pickling. When vegetables are soaked in vinegar, the acidic environment helps slow the growth of bacteria and extend the usable life of the food. One reason vinegar becomes special in food storage plans is its versatility. Beyond the kitchen, many people also use vinegar to help with household cleaning, from cleaning surfaces to removing odors from some cooking tools. That is why a bottle of vinegar in the kitchen may look very ordinary. But in many situations, it is a small ingredient with many different uses. Looking back at this list, Most of them are very familiar foods in the kitchen. But what they share is durability, flexibility, and the ability to create many different meals over time. Preparing food is not about panic. Sometimes it is simply about preparing a little before things become more difficult. I'm quite curious about one thing. In this list, which item do you always keep at home? Share it in the comments. And if you are interested in videos about food, saving money, and preparing wisely for life, do not forget to press like and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next videos.